Senior Connections, a show about senior issues and events. A guide to active, independent living. Senior Connections, with your hosts, Margie Toms and Janet Halliday.
Welcome to Senior Connections. I'm Janet Halliday, and Margie has the afternoon off, but she'll be back with us next week. Typically on this show, we talk about senior events or issues that are relative to their family members and caregivers. But today we're going to be doing something different. We're going to be talking about an organization that was created back in 1941 by President Roosevelt to help boost the morale of our troops. It's called the USO. We'd like for you to generously donate. So if you will pick up the phone and dial the number on the screen, you can donate to the servicemen and women and their family members that protect our precious freedom. Our retired Army Major General Robert St. Onge and retired Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel John Marcusi and Mr. Ike McLeese. He is President and CEO of the Greater Columbia Chamber of Commerce. And I'm going to ask you, what is the mission of the USO?
Oh, the mission is pretty simple. It's to lift the spirits of Americans' troops and their families. Now, every USO is a little different. The USO affiliated with Walter Reed Army Medical Center has a very different mission and an application of programs than, say, the USO at the Columbia Airport. The one here in Columbia is absolutely phenomenal. We service both Fort Jackson and the Shaw Air Force Base at Sumter, but also the National Guard and Reserve troops of all the services that come through the facilities here in the Columbia area. Those of you who are parents or have grandparents, you may have sent a young one off to join the service. And there's always a tearful goodbye at the in the driveway, and when they get here, you know the USO is there to welcome them, to make them feel a little bit at home. And when they're shook up or they lost their ID or they can't find their packet, there's somebody like John here to take care of them and to make sure that they have that little touch of home.
Especially when you're 18 years old.
Exactly.
That's right. Now, we had talked off camera. Why did you work so hard to bring the USO back to Columbia? You had just said that there was one here, what, 25?
I remember it was on Main Street when I was at the University of South Carolina, so it's been a good little while. We know about 25% of the traffic at the Columbia Airport is military related from our 3 different military facilities in the Midlands. We know that soldiers come in, their first experience in the Army. They haven't even been formally sworn into the Army. We want to see that they are well treated. We strive to be the most military-friendly community in America, so we needed the USO to help us bring that to where it is actually true.
It is a great community. We are very fortunate here in South Carolina that we have such a tight-knit community. On your bio, I know you two are military men. You spent, what, 34 years in?
Yes, ma'am.
And you are retired Army.
Yes.
And you were 33 years and how many months?
7 months and 19 days. I'm a retired Marine.
Retired Marine for 33 years, correct?
33, yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Ike McLeese, you are responsible for bringing the USO back to Columbia, correct?
Well, I was part of a team that worked very hard at it. We had a lot of other people at Fort Jackson, retired military people in the community, and the Airport Commission. It was a team effort.
And presently, you are on the
I am presently. I am president of the Greater Columbia Chamber of Commerce, and I also serve as the civilian aide to the Secretary of the Army for South Carolina.
Right. And how many businesses do you have oversee in the chamber?
Well, before this recession, we had about 2,200. Right now, we're topping off at about 1,750 and building back.
Building back. Well, it's going to come back, I know. Now, I want to start with the military guys because obviously you spent a good amount of your career overseas. Tell us what the USO meant to you while you were serving overseas. And either one of you can start.
Please.
Yeah, my experience is when I get to the airports, and needed a place to relax when I had long layovers. For me, the USO was a place to go relax. If I wanted to read or if I wanted to do something else, I had the capability of doing it. And it's just a place to relax as if I was sitting at home.
And your experience started when you were a young boy.
My father was in the Army.
Right.
And so I was raised in a military family, and I went off to the military before my dad had actually retired. So USO to me was hearing about it from my father, and later from my father-in-law, who served in World War II also. And then my own personal experiences were at airports and other places. While serving overseas in Vietnam, the USO came through with tours and entertainment. And there was always a canteen available to get a cup of coffee or grab a donut or have some little touch of home.
And we're going to take our first break. But if you're looking for tax planning or estate planning, give Roger Hall a call and he'd be happy to review your portfolio and find out if he can help you with your wealth building and retirement. And we'll be right back.
Senior Connections, brought to you by our premier senior providers, offering exceptional services for older adults. Our premier senior providers include Comfort Keepers of Columbia, comforting solutions for in-home care. Anesthesiology Consultants, board-certified anesthesiologists with over 400 years of combined anesthesia experience, serving these fine institutions throughout the Midlands for over 25 years. Carnegie & Mosley Funeral Home and Cremation Services, our family serving your family since 1884. Hall Tax and Planning, helping you work towards a worry-free retirement.
This is my first time. I've enjoyed it so far.
It's pretty much a little piece of home. You got the internet access ready for you. You have free food that were all contributed. And everything, it's just great.
We just got out playing Xbox right now, so pretty pumped.
It's a great place to meet people.
They're basically like our home away from home.
September 11th reminds us of the importance of our military. So Watch Fox is partnering with the USO of South Carolina to raise funds for our troops. All money raised will stay local to support those who protect us every day.
Welcome back to Senior Connections. We're talking today about the USO. Now, you are a volunteer.
Yes, I am.
Tell us about some of the responsibilities as a volunteer.
Well, you try to make life enjoyable for the military that come through the USO. You make sure that there's snacks available, drinks, try to keep the place clean, and just try to answer questions that they may have and assist them any way you can.
Now, this particular USO that we're talking about is at the airport here.
It's at the airport, yes.
And what other types of services do you have for the troops?
Well, we have Xbox games for them to play, which is beyond my capabilities. I'd have to get my grandson to show me how to do that. We have Wi-Fi, the whole airport's Wi-Fi, so they have access if they have their own computers. We have 6 computers out there that they're available for them to use, plus 2 televisions in the center.
Now, what about phone cards and access to telephones?
We do have phone cards. Most of them have cell phones, though. In fact, the predominant number of them that come through there have their own cell phones with them. Okay. So it hasn't really been an issue as far as phones, but we do have a telephone in there if they need to make a call, or if they don't have a cell phone, need to make a long distance call. Most of the volunteers will let them use their cell phones so that they can make their calls.
Now, we have another USO. It's called USO Box. And where's that located?
At Camp McCready, which is on the other side of Fort Jackson. It serves the South Carolina National Guard.
Now, tell us about USO Box. What's the difference?
It's smaller. It is basically designed to go on location as opposed to a permanent facility like the airport. It allows the USO to get as far advanced as they possibly safely can in areas around the world so they can be of service to our soldiers.
Now, one of the things that I learned while I was doing my research is that the USO is not supported at all by the government. it is all by donations.
That's
that
correct.
That is correct.
And so, folks, if you want to give to a worthwhile cause, you just pick up the phone and call, and they'll be happy to take your money. But what I found out too, and I could not believe all the other programs that the USO has. Families of Fallen support, USO travel support, and all the continuing programs back home for behavioral health and getting jobs and that sort of thing. Can one of you elaborate on some of these programs?
Well, I haven't been exposed to all of the programs that the USO has to offer, but I am familiar with them or know that they do offer the programs. And it is a benefit to all the military and military families that take advantage of them.
Well, the other thing I want is the USO open to National Guard troops?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing is, it talks a lot about families, but does it support moms and dads of fallen soldiers?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, because that was the other thing I wasn't real clear on. I have a personal experience of the loss of a young soldier who was not married, and I wish I had known about these services at the time of his death, because we certainly could have utilized some of these resources, and I had no idea that the USO even provided it. I think it said 78% of families are now able to go to Dover to meet their loved one.
That is correct.
Okay, and she's given give me that sign again. And the nicest thing that you can do for your family is do a pre-funeral arrangement. You can have your wishes known, and it is Medicaid eligible. And Greg Mosley also has the answers to VA benefit burial benefits. And we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Joni Thresher. I'm the director of the USO South Carolina, and it's certainly a privilege every day. I wake up and I can't wait to come to work because I know I'm going to see someone in uniform that needs me. They need the USO. It's all about the troops and families here at the USO. We rely on volunteers and we rely on the communities that we are in so that we can do the mission that we do. That mission is to take care of troops and families. The USO has been in existence for over 70 years and our mission's never changed. That mission is to lift the American troops, their spirits, make sure that they have what they need, whether it be a cup of coffee, a hug, a calling card, an Xbox game to play, a computer, a Skype, whatever it may be. That's what the USO is. Due to all the great community leaders that we have, we were able to get a USO back into South Carolina. It had been gone for more than 20 years. And they identified the need with Fort Jackson being the largest basic training base there is. They knew that we needed a USO back in this community. They got together, they contacted the USO and said, hey, how can we make this happen? The community came together, opened an Armed Forces Lounge initially. USO came down, took a look, and guess what? Here we are. We opened June 6, 2010. Since that time, on average, we see 78,000 troops annually that come through. Kind of breaks down to about 6,500 to 6,800 a month. Every one of those troops is grabbing something to drink, a snack. Again, taking advantage of all the goodness that we have in the USO. The community donates everything we have. So whether it be your churches, your schools, your legions, your corporations, or you and your neighbors that get together and donate the bottled waters that we use, the sodas, the prepackaged individually wrapped snacks, that's what keeps these troops going. So thanks to all that are in this wonderful community and in this wonderful state, we are able to take care of troops and families throughout the state. USO takes care of active duty, reserve, National Guard troops and families. So we're here taking care of the troops that are taking care of us. Whether they're coming in for their first time, leaving their homes, leaving their farms, leaving their families, to come into Columbia, to go to Fort Jackson for basic training, or if there are senior commanders that are coming through on a regular basis to go and lift the morales of these troops as well, and to educate these troops and say hi to these troops, they're stopping by the USO. The USO is a non-rank, it's a very friendly place. They love to come in and visit with the troops. The troops really appreciate the senior folks that come in to say hello and take the time to shake their hands and to ask the questions of what they need and where they're going and where they came from. So the USO is able to do all those things. It means a lot to these troops and to these families that they have a place to come in and decompress, that they have a place to rest, that they have a snack that's there for them. When they hear the word free, they just light up. They're like, what does that mean? How? Why? Why are you doing this? We've had troops tell us, you know, ma'am, all I did was say, I'll take care of the country. I raise my hand. I volunteer. I say, that's why we're doing this for you. Every day there's a smile that's brought to our volunteers' faces and to mine. Every day there's a tear shed, whether it be that you're sharing it with the troop and you're crying with them, or whether you're crying out of happiness for them. We've been blessed to have troops and families that are having babies. We connect them via Skype. We've been blessed to have families that read and they get to stay connected while they're overseas or when they come home. We've also had the sadness of bringing home our fallen heroes, and all of that means so much.
Caring for your feet is very important, so today we're going to discuss some simple things that you can do to help you with those common foot deformities that may be out there. Most people are familiar with Callus Protectors. Callus Protectors can be in felt or silicone and can be used to help you with hard spots that are on the bottom of your feet. They may be also on the side, on the toes, towards the big toe or the small toe. So you really want to look at some Callus Protectors that will help you with that. Also, people sometimes need to have a metatarsal pad. Metatarsal pad can sometimes give you a little bit of relief on the pressure, especially at the ball of the foot if you're having issues. Some people wear also what they call a bunion regulator because they have bunions. Bunions are portions of bone that stick out because your big toe is moving over to the center. And so you want to maybe look at a bunion regulator that can help maybe move that toe back, or a bunion protector to give you protection in the shoes that you're already wearing, so that way it doesn't create a rubbing spot and creates irritation. There are different things that you can do for your feet that are simple, whether it's toe spacers, toe fillers, heel hugs, or maybe you need an arch support. Some arch supports can be worn on the foot, like this arch pad, or an arch bandage that can help relieve the pressure and give you the stability that you need for your arches. A lot of times you'll hear doctors talk about, well, you're suffering from plantar fasciitis. What does that mean? Well, by and large, it means that your arches are falling. So you need to make sure that you check with your doctor and maybe use a plantar fasciitis night splint during the day or at night. For more information about foot specialties, contact me, Sean Owen, at MedPoints Medical Specialties, 728-0122.
Senior Connections, brought to you by our premier senior providers, offering exceptional services for older adults. Our premier senior providers include Hall Tax and Planning, helping you work towards a worry-free retirement.
Welcome back to Senior Connections. We've been talking about the USO, and I'm going to ask you about how many service personnel does the USO in South Carolina serve?
The one at the Columbia Airport, I think, handled about 70,000, a little over 70,000 soldiers, airmen, and sailors last year.
And because most of my work, I guess, was done with the national organization. Explain the families. How do they use the USO facility?
Basically, they use the same way as the active duty or retired person. All military members and their families have ID cards, military ID cards, and that's what they use to gain admission to the USO. A lot of times the family members are traveling without the sponsor, and the USO is a place for them, again, to come in and relax and take advantage of what we have to offer. And it's all based on that military ID card.
I see. And I know that the space right now is about 900 square feet.
That's correct.
And the airport here has graciously extended that, and Lowe's is going to be building it out.
Local Lowe's stores adopted the USO, and they are helping build out a second section of the USO, which is under the stairwell, where you claim your baggage at the Columbia Airport. It will be back under that stairwell. And there are a lot of trainees that are just arriving, and to see that type of service at the airport when they arrive certainly should give them a good impression of the organization that they just volunteered to join.
Well, I'm glad, having gone through a few flights where these folks were going home from Fort Jackson and standing in line and them taking off every button, belt buckle, and pin was quite entertaining. I said, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to leave when they're leaving. I want to rearrange my schedule. Now, there's also a program called Warriors Transition Unit. Can you tell us about that?
I can. The military has taken seriously its obligation to assist wounded warriors when they come back from deployment. Some are ambulatory, some are not, some are in hospital situations, and some have been discharged from the hospital. So every major Army post, and I think the Marines have something comparable, has a warrior transition unit with a real commander and a first sergeant that are taking these number of troops that are there, assisting them through their medical processing, through their treatment, through whatever programs they're going to take to assist them in transitioning either to a unit, back to a unit when they're full-time capable of performing again, or out of the military. There's one at Fort Jackson, and USO works with them very closely to ensure that we have connectivity with that particular type of unit.
I see. And another program that we were discussing was United Through Reading with the DVDs, or the soldier reads a book, or?
There's at Camp McGrady, there's a USO out there. It has a reading room in it. And what they do with the soldiers or sailors that are getting ready to deploy, they go in and select a book, they read the book, and it's all recorded. And then the book and the DVD is given to that person to mail back to his family, so once he's gone, they can play it, and it's just like the parent was there at the time the book was read.
And I read that the USO pays for all that equipment, the shipping, the handling, the whole thing.
That's correct.
Okay. And we were talking a little bit about the National Guard transition back into the community versus the regular military. Would you kind of tell me again how that works?
There are 4 active services and there are 7 reserve services, and each one of them is slightly different. The National Guard is state-based, and so people that are part of the National Guard, for the most part, live in the state in which their National Guard units are. When they come back from deployment as a unit, they are back into the communities in which where their armories are and where they have trained and served previously. And so the needs for them for transition are slightly different than the active forces of any service, where people come from all communities across the nation and are amalgamated into a unit that's not geographically based. So the active service has taken care of itself in certain ways to account for the transition needs of its soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, and the Guard and Reserve do it slightly differently.
And I want to let folks know that there is a difference between the local USO and the programs and services that you all have versus the national. If you go online and look at the national program, you're going to see a lot of programs, and we're getting another signal. And if you're looking for an assisted living that has a home-like atmosphere and compassionate caregivers, give Brookdale Senior Living a call. There's one in Sumter and 2 in Columbia, and we'll be right back.
Senior Connections, brought to you by our premier senior providers, offering exceptional services for older adults. Our premier senior providers include Senior Living Guide, serving the Midlands for more than a decade. Life Care Center of Columbia, doing whatever it takes and then some. Brookdale Senior Living, providing exceptional senior living for over 30 years. Aging Gracefully, a senior living consulting service.
I had a son traveling. He was 11 years old. We had paid for the service for the babysitting on the aircraft. However, it fell through. Now you can imagine a father, for have an 11-year-old running around a huge airport by himself. he was able to find the USO, and they took care of him and got him to his gate.
September 11th reminds us of the importance of our military. So Watch Fox is partnering with the USO of South Carolina to raise funds for our troops. All money raised will stay local to support those who protect us every day.
Tell me, what are some of the experiences that you've had with the troops?
Well, the experiences I've had are folks that come in, young soldiers coming in, going to boot camp and don't know what to do when they get here, don't know who to call, where to go. Those types of things, they want to contact their parents and let them know that they got to South Carolina okay. And so we make available services to provide that. Most of us have cell phones, so I know I let them use my cell phone to call home if they need to call and let their parents know they got to Columbia okay. A lot of them have to do with baggage issues. Some of them get stranded at the airport, and the USO has partners in town that will help with putting them up for the night, feeding them, and making sure they get back to the airport the next morning to catch their flights. Many of them lose an ID card or don't know how to read their orders as to where they're going, who to contact when they get here. So we try to work with them on those issues.
Now, there's a United Through Reading campaign. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
That's at Camp McGrady, and that has to do with the service members out there, primarily Navy, that are deploying from South Carolina to a combat zone. There's a reading room out there where they can go in, select a book, they record, the spouse reads the book and it's recorded. When it's all completed, they give the book and the DVD or CD to that person, and they send it back to their family. So once they're gone, the family can play it, and it's just like the parent was there reading to their children.
And they said that the USO covers all the equipment, the shipping, the packing, everything.
That's correct.
Okay. And now I think talked a little bit. You have a 900 square foot facility right now?
That's correct.
And the airport has granted additional space?
Additional space on the first floor where you pick up your baggage under the steps. And the local Lowe's stores have volunteered to help build that out. So we're very appreciative to Lowe's and the airport for what they're doing.
Okay. And then how much additional space will that give you?
Probably about another 500 or 600 square feet, maybe a little bit more.
Okay. Well, thank you for being with us today. I want to remind folks to please pick up their copy of Senior Living Guide. It is a statewide publication, and to look at our full page ad with our sponsors in it. If you have need for their services, please give them a call. They're supporting the program, and therefore they're supporting you. Also, be sure and send pictures in if you have an event or celebration that we can post on Senior Connections. And check out the event calendar for all the local events that you need to attend. Thanks for being with us today, and God bless. For more information on the topics discussed on today's show, to learn about upcoming senior events and support groups in the Midlands, or to submit a question, go to seniorconnectionssc.com. You can also call us at 803-739-4205.